Hey everybody, on this episode of the 4Sight podcast, I speak with Miss Chajuana Trawick. Let's go. Lamar, are you recording?
Yes, in 5, 4, 3, 2.
You know you really do that well, and I respect your ability to enunciate the 5, the 4.
This is that rare opportunity that I actually crashed the screen. This will be the one episode, and you just happen to be here that I'm actually doing it.
I'm happy about that.
He's just on one.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was just pointing out how you know how you command the scene.
Enunciate words.
Yeah, enunciate the words.
Yeah.
Enunciate. I used to have a teacher who used to say that. Enunciate.
Proud Normandy School District Education.
There you go.
Woo, Norman! Oh my God. Woo,
Are you a Viking?
Dirty Viking? What?
What year?
92.
Oh, so
my
you
God.
came out with let's see, Randall and Phillips,
Yes.
and all them. I was 94.
94. Oh, the poo-poo. That's so sweet.
And on that note, I shall now disappear.
I know, right? Great countdown, though.
Brown poo poo.
It's a poo-poo. He's a poo-poo.
Oh boy. I love the start to this podcast already. Let's get started.
Okay.
Welcome everybody to the 4Sight podcast. I am your host, David Gordon, better known as DKG72. I'm here with, of course, the super producer Lamar Harris, who is doing his thing. He's producing as always and connecting with the guests as you know, super producers should do. We got a really great show lined up for you guys. We have a very special guest. But first, of course, a little house cleaning. Thank you to everybody that comes back and watches and listens to the podcast. We couldn't do this without you, so we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you. If you don't know, we are available on Apple Podcasts now. So if you are an iPhone user, iPad user, or any kind of Mac product, you can now get the podcast on those products. What else is going on? For now, I think that'll be it. Let's get on to the show. So today's guest is I met her a couple years back when I was first getting involved with the Herb Arts. I'm about to say the Urban Arts Center. What is wrong with me? With Herb Arts Art Gallery. And I found out that this lovely lady was on the board and she was doing her thing. And then I kind of we had a nice chat and she made me part of the family, like for just that event, which was amazing. And then I got to find out more about her and find out that she's really a titan in the world of fashion in St. Louis. And she's just doing a lot of big things creatively. And she just recently released a children's book on Annie Malone. So we're going to get into all of that. But everybody, help me, please help me. Welcome, not introduce. Help me welcome our guest, Miss Chajuana Trawick.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. I'm fine.
That's
Yeah.
great.
It was a bit of a surprise. I actually thought this was tomorrow night.
Oh, did you? Oh, oops.
So when I saw it on my camera and I said, oh my, because I'm in the meetings all day at work and I look a hot mess. I hope you're using a filter or something for this.
Well, I am for me. You look fine, so it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm glowing right now. I just want you to know.
You need to share the glow, David. Share the glow.
You're already glowing. It's trust me. I need whatever glow I can get at this point. So let's start from the beginning. We're going to start with your superhero origin story, which is, basically just kind of tell us who you are and how you got started in fashion and with your with one of your amazing businesses, which is the collection that you have amassed and the nice museum that you have, and then of course Annie Malone book.
All right. So how long do we have? Because I'm a talker, which I found out that I didn't know I was.
We prefer talkers on this podcast, so
okay.
Have at it.
Good. All right. So I first learned to sew at the age of 5. My mom taught me how to sew by hand because she worked for Singer Sewing Company. And so she, of course, sewed as well. So she would do our clothes and do a few things for herself. My dad would alter his own suit. So it was a lot of sewing going around in the house growing up. And when she would sew, she would have like the scraps of fabric, and I would get those scraps, and then I would make doll clothes. And so as I started getting older, she taught me how to use a sewing machine. So at 7, she put me on the sewing machine. She said, okay, you're ready. I'll teach you how to use the sewing machine. So I started doing that. And then I'll say the first thing I designed was my junior ring dance dress in high school, Normandy High School. Yay. Go Vikings. And so, sorry. But it was actually a combination of my mom and myself. She created the base of it, so the foundation of the dress, and then I just added all the designs and stuff. And so that's where it started, just as a little girl wanting to sew and then start sewing. So then later, I started sewing dresses for other people and drawing sketches and designs for my friends in high school, which I didn't have time to design my own prom dress. I remember I was so busy like helping everybody else and draw out sketches for them to have other people make them or just figuring out what they should wear, that I didn't have time to design my own prom dress. And I remember going to the store, and that's like such a pet peeve of mine for a special occasion. It was just like, do not do off the rack. But I had to do it for myself. So I took home the dress and I altered it, of course. Little fun story or fun fact, since we've already put my age and year I graduated out there. At our 20-year reunion, what happened?
We didn't try to. I just wanted to make that.
I know.
We didn't try it. It just came out organically.
It did, and I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with being the senior of the group. Am I? I think I'm older than you, David. I don't know. No, what year did you graduate?
90.
Okay, so you got me. I'm a poo-poo to you.
Hazel with East Spartans.
Norby Vikings.
I don't know who said that.
No, oh my God. Okay, focus, right? We'll be here all night. Okay, focus. You have to keep me reined in. All right, so I altered the dress. At our 20-year reunion, I wore that same prom dress.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. So I was kind of, it was kind of like a couple of friends were mad at me, but it was okay. So,
I'm trying to think, is there anything from 20 years ago that I could, wait, no, nah.
No.
Okay. No.
Yeah. So anyway.
It was interesting, but no.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then high school, I knew I wanted to go to fashion school. Mm-hmm. I was all set mentally for Hampton University, right? Historically Black University. My parents said, no, go sit your butt down. You're not leaving St. Louis. It was like, what? Reality check, right?
Right.
So I said, okay, well, where am I going to go? So WashU, of course, was too expensive. They have a fashion design program. But there was this cute little Catholic private school called Vaughn College back then that had fashion, merchandising, and design. So that's where I ended up going. So I earned my Bachelor of Science in Fashion, Merchandising, and Design from Vaughn. Mm-hmm. I went right on because I had one of my professors, loved my professor, Ms. Price. She told me about their master's program. She was like, Chajuana, why don't you look at the master's program? You can get your master's in a year. So I was like, really? Okay, I don't really know, where I'm going to work when I'm done anyway. So, okay, sure. I'll go right back and get the master's. So I actually graduated in December with my bachelor's. And then I went right in January for the master's program. Mm-hmm. So worked on that. That was a year. That was great. So that was a master's in business administration. So during that time, I had started sewing for other people. So in 1997, I actually got my first business license And it was because of the Black Expo. I don't know, I'm dating myself, but I'm not sure if you guys remember the Black Expo, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So I said, oh my God, if I'm going to be a real business down there, so I have to get my business license. So I actually did that in 1997, and it was under the name Designs by CBT. So not original at all, right?
Right.
But another caveat. So my junior year in 1991,
Mhm.
1991, I actually had a fashion show. Wait a minute. No, I was 19. Never mind. Scratch it. At 19, I had my first televised fashion. So, 1991, I got those mixed up. So at 19, I had my first fashion show on TV. Again, dating myself. You're getting all my history, right? I don't think I've talked to anybody about this. But anyway, I know, right? You were already accepted in the family. I put you at my family table. So
there you go. So it should be easy.
Yeah, okay. So at 19, I ended up having my first televised fashion show. Mm-hmm. And I remember them asking me, so what's the name of your clothing? What do you call yourself? What's your company name? And I was just like, I don't know yet. And I have those actual VHS tapes still in my basement.
Oh, wow.
So I'm gonna have to pull them out and do something with them. But the next year that I went back, I had another fashion show on American Cablevision, and the show was called Let's Do It. Oh my God, that was named Let's Do It right. Okay, I'm gonna sing because I can't. But it was on Let's Do It. So I came back the next year, and by that time I said, oh my God, I need to have a brand. I need to have a name. So that's when I came up with Designs by CBT. Okay. So, fast forward a little bit. So I started designing clothes at the age of 25. So I was just like doing whatever anybody wanted. It's like, okay, yeah, I want this. I want man's suits. Okay, I can do that. I want this. I want that. At my senior year in college, my internship, I had to have an internship. And so I said, okay, well, I want to be, an entrepreneur. I'm a Black woman. So I want to do my internship with another Black female entrepreneur. So I went to, because my advisors, they were like, places, well, you can go here, you can go here. And I was just like, no, I don't want to go there. I know what I want to do. I want to work with somebody that looks like me, that's doing exactly what I want to do. So I ended up going to Northwest Plaza. Oh my God, everything is like, right? Like history. I went to Northwest Plaza. What?
Rest in peace, Northwest Plaza.
Rest in peace. A moment of silence. Okay. So anyway, went to Northwest Plaza. My sister and I, we were walking around and I saw this store and it was called First World. And so we saw the woman working in there and she was actually closing. And my sister said, oh my God, I think that's the owner because she's always in there. And so my sister said, well, go talk to her. And I'm nervous. I'm like, no, I don't want to say anything. Next thing I know, I see her leaving the store. My sister was like, go after her. So I literally ran her down in the parking lot. Oh, wow. And I was just like, hi, my name is Chajuana Trawick, and I'm a senior at 4Sight University. I'm a fashion major, and I wanted to know if I could work with you for my internship. And she turned around and she looked at me and she was just like, yes, you can. So go back a little bit. Also my senior year, wait, should I go back? No, that was senior year graduate. Okay, so I'm on the same path, sorry.
Okay.
So I'm doing my internship with, he's not making fun of me, is he? Lamar's not making fun
of me. No, he's
okay. All right, so doing my internship at First World, I was in charge of designing the men's African-inspired apparel. So she would bring in the authentic African fabric, and then I would create different men's looks.
Wait. So you guys were actually, because I remember First World. Mm-hmm. And for those of you all that aren't from the area, First World was a rather large store in what used to be a popular indoor mall that no longer exists, Northwest Plaza. And so you guys were actually in there designing the clothes that would go up on the racks.
That was me. I was doing it. Yep.
Oh, wow.
So I would do like different coordinations. It would like be the women's apparel with the men's and it would be matching. But the men's apparel was more popular because she could bring in, she could buy already made women's apparel, African inspired women's apparel, but there wasn't that much for men, hardly any. And so more men wanted African apparel. And so she needed somebody to design it. So I would design it. I go home, I take her fabric, I create like maybe 2 or 3 suits a night and then take them to her in the store the next day. And so they sold very well. And then when I was about to graduate, I actually talked to her about staying on and moving into the management position. So that's a whole nother story. But my final project for senior year at Vaughn, before graduating, I had to again research. I wanted to research multicultural entrepreneurs in the fashion business. So I said, okay, I'm in the neighborhood. I'll just go to the different stores that I know of that have fashion in their stores or in their boutiques. And so I went to different people, got a few no's, no thank you, I don't have time for you, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But like they say, you only need one yes. Actually, you need three. But I got one special yes. And it was actually one of the owners of Afro World. So Afro World is on Natural Bridge. They've been in Normandy, I think, their entire time. I know they, in 2020, they celebrated 50 years. Yeah. And so I actually talked to Mr. Victor Little. I went in nervous, just shaking like a leaf. And I'm like, hi, I'm a fashion student and I have to interview entrepreneurs in the fashion business. And they, of course, had fashion, African apparel there. And so he said, okay, we'll schedule a meeting. And I mean, he had this really stern look on his face that he was just looking at me while I was talking. So he's like, we'll schedule a meeting. And I was just like, okay, thank you so much. So when I came back, it was so nice. They had it set up. We were like in their back room. It was like, I had my own chair. It was so nice. So we talked and talked and talked and talked. And it was so impactful. Just him telling me to believe in myself, telling me about, just follow my dreams and all the different things he said to me really, really inspired me and really stuck with me throughout my entire life. Okay. So, and I won't cry because every time I see him and we talk about it, I cry. But anyway, so after that, I went on, kept designing for, again, random people, just whatever, because I was hustling, actually. I was a full-time student. I also worked at Famous Bar, not Macy's. I worked at Famous Bar in the Northwest Plaza as well. Yeah, so I'm all
Macy's.
Yeah. So I was at Famous Bar at Northwest Plaza. Then I moved to Famous Bar at the Galleria. All those stories. So I was still working different things, but I was designing clothes. So at 25, I got kicked off my parents' insurance. So Matt was like, yeah, you need to get a real job with benefits. And it was like, what? I'm designing clothes. What's he saying? So he was just like, nope, you need a real job so you can get benefits. So I was like, okay. He was like, you need to teach. And I was like, no, because my sister was a teacher. She's retired now. So I was just like, my sister and I are total opposites. So I was just like, no, because our playtime growing up, we're 7 years apart. Our playtime I was her student. And
she would teach you.
Yes, that was fun for her. She was teaching me and that was fun. And I was about to pass out. Like, I want to make clothes. So the way we would do it, I would design my doll's clothes and then we'd have a fashion show. And then I'd have to go back to school. Right? Because it was like her playtime was teaching me and me doing book reports. And every summer she gave me like 5 books to read. Again, I appreciate that now. Malcolm X was one of them. And oh my God, The Bluest Eye was another one. I Know About a Cave Bird thing. It was just like she gave me all of these Black history books to read over the summer and I'd have to write a book report. That was fun playtime in my house, right? No. But anyway. So
I understand.
Yeah. So all right. So get kicked off with dad, my dad, my mom's insurance. So then he's like, you need to teach. So I said, okay, let me just try it. Let me just see. Right. Because I loathed it. I was like, no, I don't want to teach. So I started substitute teaching, of course, at my place, Normandy High School. Long story short, I was teaching, subbing. They actually started me off in pre-K. So I had the baby, right? Pre-kindergarten. I was there one day. I left and I said, please take me off that list. I do not want to have the babies. I won't go into details, but the babies, oh my God, I could not handle the babies.
I can almost come up with a bunch of scenarios. Yeah.
Exactly. It was one little boy that loved Play-Doh and he kept saying, can I play the Play-Doh? And he was eating the Play-Doh. And it was just like, oh my God. And then another little girl asked to go to the restroom. And I'm just like, oh yeah, we'll go to the restroom. No, she couldn't wait. I didn't know. Yeah. So it was terrible. It was terrible. I was just like, no, it's okay. You can take me off pre-K, right? Because every morning I would get a call. The substitute system was, this is so ancient. She would call me and she would say, okay, we have 3 places, 3 ages, grade levels rather. And so I would choose, okay, give me this one, give me that one. And then if I didn't want to go on a certain level, I would say, can you take me off the list for pre-K? It literally went all the way up the ladder. Again, I won't go into all those stories. So I stopped at high school, right? So once I hit high school, it was like, wait a minute, I like this. I had a first grade class or the second grade, first grade or second grade, sent me home crying. I left at lunch. I was mortified because of those babies. They were
First
jumping
graders?
off. Yeah. They were jumping off tables. They were turning off the light and they would say, get her purse, get her purse. So when I would go back to get my purse, they turn the light back off. So then when I drop my purse and go to turn the light back on, they say, get her purse. It was horrible again. So scary. So I said, take me monsters off. Yeah, I left actually during lunch. It was like lunch bell rang. I opened the door. I wrote my letter and I went to the principal and said, I'm leaving. I have to go. I was just like, I'm afraid somebody's going to kill me or they're going to kill themselves. I have to go. So I left and I got home and actually cried like a baby. Like, you a grown woman and you let those babies.
You let the first graders.
Yeah. It was like, she told me, she said, you're not going to get paid for the whole day. I said, that's fine. That's fine. I just have to go. I have to go. So that's when I said, I cannot do elementary school. Went to middle school. Oh, Lord. It was just like, I write on the board, getting spitballs, all kind of paper thrown at my head. So couldn't do middle school. High school, that's where it was. That's where I fell in love. It was like, okay. Fast forward again, I taught at Vaughn High School for 10 years. So yes, I was blessed to start in the new building. 2002, when the new building opened up on campus, I was there. And I honestly will say, still to this day, I almost bleed blue because I was there for so long. It's like the blue and white, the Wolverines. I have a deep connection with Vaughn Wolverines, even though I'm a Viking for life. I'm a 92 Viking for life. But I really had a wonderful experience.
That's kind of like your side school.
That's my side school, right?
So when you were teaching, what were you teaching fashion or were you teaching art at that point in the story?
Yes. So when I was teaching, so at Normandy, for the whole time I was there, I taught just whatever they needed. So I taught Spanish, math, science, whatever. The last 2 years I was at Normandy, I taught PE full time. By that time, I had graduated with a master's in business and a bachelor's in fashion design. And every day I was getting up, putting on stretch pants, t-shirts, and tennis shoes. And I was saying, what in the world am I doing?
Well, that doesn't sound like a bad. No.
For a fashion major, it was horrible. But I loved my job. I loved it. And you know what it did? It was perfect for fashion design because I was at the high school. What do you have? High school students need prom dresses. I found my niche and my specialty area. So there you go again, more history. So then after teaching at Normandy, I moved on because actually, and I won't go into all those details, but I was offered a full-time position, I'll just say that, at Vaughn, and so I took it. So I taught fashion design and fashion merchandise. I also taught family consumer science, and I taught a consumer economics class while I was there. It was great experience at Vaughn. I mean, seriously great. The last 2 years that I was there wasn't so great, but that's okay because still I had, my family there that I had connected with over the years from being there. Right. So then while I was working, so at Vaughn, because I was teaching, I needed to have teaching certification. So Mr. Frank Logan, throw out his name, he told me, he said, okay, we can hire you provisionally certify. You have to go back to school. You have to get certain numbers of hours so you can get certification, right? Because you have to have teaching certification for secondary and elementary. So I went back to school. I said, well, I might as well get another master's if I have to go back and take credit. So I started working on a second master's in family consumer science, secondary education at Vaughn again.
Okay.
Working on that. Every summer we'd have to take this. I was under career and technical education. So we would have to do these, it was like a conference over the summer in Springfield. I went to a conference and one of the panels or workshops or whatever you want to call it said, if you want to get your PhD and teach at the university level, come to our session. So I was like, wait a minute. And it took me all the way back to middle school when I made my 3, like they asked you, so what do you want to be when you grow up? Plan out your future. So I had 3 options. My plan A was to get married, be a housewife, and have 7 children. I know. None of that happened.
That's a specific number, but okay.
My mom was a housewife, so I wanted to be a housewife. I like my mom's housewife thing, right? But it wasn't 7 of them. But anyway, I was going to be a housewife. That was like my goal: get married, have 7 kids, be a housewife. Plan B was to have international boutiques all over the world, right? It was going to be a big time fashion designer with international boutiques all over the world. Plan C was to get my PhD, be a university professor. So the joke is I'm a C student, obviously. Right. So it's like you didn't get A, B, you got C. Okay, it's fine. So then I went to the session, and during the session, I was literally shaking because everything they said was incredible to me. And I'm just like, oh my God, I got to do it. Fast forward again. So that was at University of Missouri, Columbia. So I started in 2007. I took a leave of absence from Vaughn to go there to work because I had to do a 2-year residency where we would do our coursework, and then I could come home and then start doing my research, writing my dissertation. So I did that while I was working. So when I came back, I started writing my dissertation, and I was back working at Vaughn High School. A whole nother story. Okay, I won't go into it. I'm all over the place. But anyway, so I did that. And while I was there, I started saying, okay, well, now I've been bitten by the college bug because for my tuition, I was a graduate assistant. So like a teaching assistant, and I had to teach college classes, right?
Yeah, because I was going to ask how you ended up at Lindenwood and
yes, that's where I'm going, right? A whole 30 minutes into it. So I started teaching. I had a couple of college classes that I had to teach. So I loved it. I loved it. It was like, wow, you can have a whole conversation with them. You know, they're not like younger kids, whatever. So I fell in love and I found my home. It was like, oh my God, this is where I want to be. So when I got back to Vaughn, I started making my exit plan where it's like, okay, I need to find a university to work at. Great story. I was talking to my advisor, and that's what I tell my students now. I'm your advisor. I will forever be your advisor. Whenever you need me, I'll be your mentor, blah, 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 because my freshman year advisor from Vaughn University actually helped me find the job where I am now at Lindenwood University.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I was talking to her and just letting her know, like, yeah, I want to work at a university. She was like, Chajuana, you need to go to Lindenwood. So I kept hearing about Lindenwood, and I'm like, what is Lindenwood? I've never even heard of Lindenwood. But people kept saying, every time I told somebody that I wanted to teach at a university, they were like, well, have you thought about Lindenwood? I'm like, what is Lindenwood? So I actually had an advisory council for my high school students. And I reached out to Lindenwood at one point, and I didn't get any response. So I was just like, what? They have a fashion program. Okay, but they don't reply to email, so never mind. Talked to my advisor. She said, just go for a visit. Just go for a visit. You don't have to take the job. Just go for a visit. So I said, okay, I'll schedule a visit. I went. I looked around. I was like, it's cute. It looks like the Fox Theater. Okay, but I'm going to Morgan State. So in between that time, I had to talk to my cousin who actually inspired me to get my PhD. She was like the only family member that I had that had a PhD. On my dad's side, I had another cousin who had an educational doctorate. And so my cousin, she was like a mentor, and I was talking to her. She was like, oh, no. Come to Morgan. We have a fashion program. It's a historically Black college in Maryland. Come to Morgan State. So I was like, I'm done. I'm there. So long story short again, talk to the person there. It didn't happen. We'll leave it at that. So Lindenwood, it was like this whole courting situation where I was talking with Lindenwood. I'm just like, no. I'm going to Morgan State. Sorry. And they were just like, okay, are you sure? Well, let's try this. Okay, well, what about this? And I'm just like, no. I'm going to Morgan State. And Morgan State was just like, shooting me down. So got all the way, I think it was like, we're in 2 weeks in. And I told Linda, it was like, okay, I'll come to Lindenwood. And so I surrendered, I waved the white flag, and I came to Lindenwood. So Lindenwood, I won't go all into there, but I started off just as an assistant professor. Mm-hmm. By that summer of 2013, so my full year there, I became the program chair. So over that summer, I started in that fall, went through the spring. By that summer of 2012, I was redesigning. No, it was 2013. I started in August 2012. 2013 spring, summer, I had to redesign the entire program because while I was there, I was noticing different things that I saw missing from being at Mizzou. Yes.
I remember we had talked about that you had actually rebuilt the fashion program over there at Lindenwood. So that was kind of a massive undertaking in and of itself. What was that even like?
Scary. So it was a lot of research. So what I had to do was take things that I knew. I had to research what other universities were doing. What I did, I looked at the top fashion universities in the world, and I saw what they were doing, and it's like, okay, so let me see what we can do for our demographics, because we're right here in Missouri. Some people say Missouri, right?
Missouri, yeah.
Missouri. Yeah, so it's like we're in Missouri, right? But you're looking at all these schools here and in Paris, London, and all this stuff. And so I said, okay, well, let me take what I found and let me mold it into what would work for our students and our population. And so I had to recreate the curriculum. I had to hire new staff, new faculty. It was just like the whole system. I had to just recreate it. So I did all of that over the summer. We only had one degree by that time. It was only fashion design. It was only one fashion design degree. So I had new faculty to teach. In 2017, I created, again, I'm speeding over a lot of stuff. I kept talking to my dean and I said, we need fashion business. We have fashion design. It's a really good program. It's strong. But what about those fashion business students who could care less about sewing, designing, and construction? They're more on the buying, selling, marketing, promoting, merchandising side. So he didn't really get it at first. He's like, okay, create a class. We'll see how it goes. The class was like amazing. Even talking to our alumni that would come back, they kept saying over and over again, I wish I had business. I wish I understood the business because I'm in business, right? So either you're going to work for a fashion house or fashion company, or you're going to start your own. Yeah. So created the fashion business.
No, I was going to say I did a short film and they were asking me about that, and I'd say all the time, artists, any kind of artists, they need you don't need to really go. You want to go to school for your craft, but more importantly, you need to go to school for business because you're just going to spend most of your life as an independent contractor anyway. So so it's amazing that you recognize that and you were already kind of moving towards that in the fashion realm.
Yeah. So that's what I did. So I created that class. It was great. So then we ended up getting an entire degree in fashion business and entrepreneurship. Again, I won't give you all the bad and ugly of it all, but
it was a lot.
So it was what?
It was a lot. We'll just leave it at that. It was a lot.
It was a lot. So ended up, so we had the fashion business and entrepreneurship program. Then we had fashion design. It was thought that we didn't need fashion design because fashion business was doing so well. So they decided to close the fashion design program, unbeknownst to me. I was just called in the office like, yeah, we're shutting it down. Like, what? Excuse me? So yeah, that was a horrible experience. Talk to, you have friends and you just talk to them about certain things. Long story short, I ended up receiving an endowment to bring back my fashion design program. So we, again, rebranded it. It's now the fashion design and technology degree because we wanted to bring in technology. And so that's what I recreated the focus on sustainability, technology, and then building global relationships. So that's what we focus on now with our fashion program, just in general. And so with that endowment, and I've been checking this because it is Black History Month, right? So I was checking back and forth because the president who was there when he signed the contract for the endowment, he was just like, so you're the first endowed chair at Lindenwood University. How do you feel? It's over 193 years. You're the first endowed chair. And I was like, really? Okay, that's fine.
So for those of us that don't know, explain what an endowment is.
Okay, so there are different types. I'll tell you what mine is because that's the one I know better. So what the endowment is it's a donor who gives a portion of money for a specific area or specific person. And so by it being an endowment for an endowed chair, the donation was made specifically for my position within my program.
Oh, so basically what you did, you found the plug.
Okay. And you know what I'll say this. I didn't find anything. The Lord found the plug. Hallelujah. Amen. Seriously, all I was doing was crying and praying. And the next thing I know, it was like a phone call and the rest is history. And it was just like, wow. And I'll never forget, it was like, I'm saying, thank you. I'm crying, just looking, the ugly cry, just crying. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I don't know what I did to deserve it. Thank you so much. Thank you. And the person said, it's not about me and it's not about you. It's about God. And when they said that, it was just like, whew. And it was like a burden was lifted off of me. Cause you know, you feel when someone does something really nice for you, and this wasn't just, oh, that was nice. This was like grand, right?
Right.
I was so humbled, but then I kept thinking, I'm not worthy. You never think you're worthy of anything, right? Something like really big. So I was just like, oh my God. But when they said that, it was just like, oh, okay. God is in control. God did all of this. I had to do it. Thank you, Lord. Right. So it was just like, thank you so much. That actually put it all in perspective. So moving on. So the president told me that, had an interview. They were just like, oh, yeah, you're the first endowed chair. So found out that I'm not the first endowed chair. There was this, I think he was in the religion department in like 1870 or something like that, a Caucasian gentleman.
Yeah, that 18, anything before 1900 doesn't count.
Right. But I did. And that's what I was saying. Like a couple of weeks ago, I checked with our, the curator, historian in our archives. And I was like, okay, so we know I wasn't the first one in Lindenwood's 194-year history. But what about the first African-American? So he was like, I'm 100% sure. Yeah, he's just like, he said, I can't say for 100%. He said, but I'm almost sure you're the first African-American. So then I said, okay, is it African-American period? Or is it African-American woman? Or is it the first woman too? He was like, I think it's all been older white guys. He said, so I'm more sure you're the first African-American period. He said, but more than likely you're the first woman period as well.
I would say every one of those African-American woman, African female, just woman in general. Yeah, I think that's a three for. That'll be a three for me, sir.
Okay, great. The other thing that I have checking into at Mizzou, because again, one of the women from admissions said I was the first Black student or African-American student to be accepted and graduate from Mizzou's Textile and Apparel Management PhD program. So
Okay.
that was another first. And just from my experience, I seriously believe I was the first. So they're still checking into that. So I'll let you know if that's another fun Black history fact or not. But
we're just going to go ahead and claim that one too.
Yeah, it was rough. And my advisor, who was my co-chair, when I talked to him, because I would go to his office, he was an African-American male. He was heaven sent. When I said I signed up for his class, and then I tried to get out of his class because his name sounded mean. I said, oh my God, his name sounds mean. I don't want to be in his class. I tried to drop his class and my computer shut down. And it was the deadline. So I was literally stuck in his class, and it was the best thing ever. So I would go in his class and just tell him all of the racial tension. And he would look at me, and I'm a crybaby. He would just sit there and he waits I finish crying.
Mm-hmm.
And his words were, it's never easy for a pioneer. And I was like, oh, wow. So I said, okay, I'm in a new territory. So I gotta lay the foundation for the. So again, it's still up in the air. They're checking on it, but yeah, it was pretty rough. Just how things were handled a lot of times, and it's just like, wait, you thought I would do what? Oh, okay. And just like a lot of racial tension at Mizzou during that time, and then we see afterwards as well.
Well, you see what happened. Yeah. So
yeah. All right.
So this is what we're going to do. We are going to take a quick break, and we're going to pay some bills. And when we come back, we are going to speak about more of your pioneering adventures as in the fashion industry. The fashion industry in Missouri, of all places. I really want to figure that out. And also, we got to talk about Annie Malone, and we have to talk about the children's book, you bringing it to the fore and all that good stuff. So let's take a break, pay some bills, and when we get back, we're going to talk about all that. So this is the 4Sight podcast, and we will be right back.
Do you need to reimagine your love? Relax and set your mind free with the Black Love Chronicles coloring book from 4Sight Publishing. Color in the spaces of love, lust, commitment, and embrace true passion with the Black Love Chronicles, available on Amazon. Get your copy and recolor your happiness today.
There you go. That's all. That'll work.
5, 4, 3, 2.
And we're back. So in the break, excuse me, in the break while we were, commercials were playing and everything like that. The super producer Lamar Harris, who doesn't want to be on camera. He doesn't want to be on camera. Had a great question. He wanted he asked about the fashion scene, and it kind of, I had it a little bit broader in Missouri, but yeah, let's bring it down to St. Louis, because if memory serves me correctly, St. Louis used to be a fashion hub in the past. So it's interesting that you are so into fashion and that you're kind of continuing that tradition. And so he was asking about just the scene in St. Louis, and how that worked out. When Project Runway was here, a Live magazine, when they were all running when they were running the place. What is the fashion scene like here in St. Louis now?
So what I'll say is I'm optimistic right now. There's a young lady named A.K. Brown. She actually had started in our program, so I met her that way. Mm-hmm. And what she recently did, she brought together all of the majority of the African-American fashion designers together for this amazing photo shoot. Mm-hmm. And so what I see now is the Black community or the Black designers actually coming together to create this new fashion scene. That's what I feel based on what I saw. I believe that. And then back to your point. So it was like the 1900s, around that time when we were second to New York. So the garment district was downtown on Washington. And right. Fun fact is the zipper. There was a zipper installed in the street downtown on Washington. There's a zipper for the garment district.
Wow.
And it's down there. And it's kind of crazy because I think the trolley, they had to put in all that stuff for the trolley too or something. So it's like crazy driving down Washington. But the organization, the Incubator, the Fashion Incubator, or the Fashion, what do they call it? The Fashion Incubator. Oh my gosh, okay. Anyway, so they came and they wanted to create the Fashion Fund. Yeah. So the Fashion Fund around the same time with Project Runway came to St. Louis and all of that. So what they wanted to do, they wanted to create an incubator for fashion designers to create their companies and stay in St. Louis. But what they did, they brought in designers to help them build their businesses, to actually build up the community or to build up the fashion industry here in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So what ended up happening, and this is all my perspective, is with them bringing in outside designers, it kind of took away the whole St. Louis thing, because a lot of times St. Louis, we have our problems, but a lot of people here in St. Louis are proud St. Louis. It's like, I love my city. And right. So by them, the outside designers coming in, it wasn't, I think, as successful as it could have been. And so they revamped and reconstructed, done a few changes. And they're going through another change right now. Mm-hmm. So I think the other aspect of that is I'm a part of a group called the Black Design Collective, and it's out in LA, and they have another branch in New York. And so I actually talked to them about bringing one here in St. Louis. And I talked to Brandon Vaughn. Brandon Vaughn is amazing. I feel like Brandon Vaughn is my friend, and we're totally not friends. We know each other, but he is such an amazing guy, right?
He's a friend, but I don't know him, but he doesn't know me, but we're friends.
Yeah, it's like we know each other in passing, but we have like this total connection. Like, oh yeah, that's the homeboy, and he's not. I can't own Brandon. I cannot own him as one of my homeboys or my friends because we are not like that. But when I see him, it's just all love. It's so amazing. It's a very amazing thing with Brandon because he's so amazing, and He's on my advisory council. What have we done? Let's see, I don't know. He had like the 100 coats and I donated and things. So we have worked a lot together. But he's like, I would say he's very inspirational. I'll say that. And I'll say he's one of the top designers here in St. Louis. There's another designer and it's called, I can't think of the name. That might be a good thing. But they have the fashion house. So they call themselves the fashion house in St. Louis. And I've been looking at them. I don't know them either. It's just all through social media, but I've been keeping my eye on them because it's like, oh, wait a minute, they're doing big things here. And I remember looking for them like, wait, is this in St. Louis? Because they've been like everywhere, Atlanta, LA, all over the place. Okay. And I actually found where they are, and they are in Florissant. Oh, wow. And so it's it's just like, wait, what? The Only Life, I think, is like one of their titles or hashtags or something, The Only Life. And they're in Florissant. And so that's another really nice fashion brand that's really good for St. Louis. Okay. And then Olivia Ray Designs is actually a young lady, and I'll be talking tomorrow morning on Your Own on their show with Olivia Ray Designs. And I met Olivia. She's a young fashion designer. She actually came to or was a participant in our high school fashion show. So one of the other things I did for Lindenwood is because I was a high school fashion design teacher. And I kept thinking, you know what would have been amazing is if my students would have had the opportunity to show their designs at the college level, because I'm introducing them to college and I'm giving them this experience. And so what I created was a high school fashion show that happened in the fall. They would showcase, so the high school students would come in from all over. They would actually be in the same fashion show as our college students. And then they would get awards. So Olivia Davis was one of the students who participated in that fashion show. I remember talking to her. She came to my program. And one of the things I do when I meet with prospective students, I talk to them to find out what it is that they really need. And if a college education is not what they need, I don't try to talk them into it. It's just like, I love education, right? But if I see they have that skill and they're ready to jump right into business, then the degree will be here. But if you have this drive and you're ready right now, go for it. And so she's actually one that did that. And so she started her business. I am super proud of her. She's doing amazing things. She's got this crowdfunding thing and everything. My video with her was horrible, though. I will say that on her. That's when I learned I talk too much. It was like, oh my God, I kept rambling and everything.
Well, here's the thing is I think when you deal with you're an artist, and when you deal with artists that are actually that are educators, that hey, we bring things together, and then we deal with art. You got to present all the time. You know, you kind of like connecting people and all that type of things. That's where that comes from. But more importantly, it seems that it's amazing to see how deeply involved you are in the community. And also it looks to me like your program over at Lindenwood, as well as your previous program at Vaughn, are really helping to fuel this. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like my weird feeling I had. I think I've talked to you about this before, about the art scene in St. Louis. It's like this weird energy that's like really, especially coming out of the Black community, where it's like, I know something's happening, but I don't know what these kids have cooking up. It's just, I'm kind of just like, hey, I'm doing my thing and stand back and watch, because whatever they're doing, that, you know, it's clear the lane. They're about to go for something big. That's right. The best way I can put it. Is that kind of how you feel right now?
That's exactly how I feel. And it's like, again, because I feel that, and I won't say my ship has sailed, but now I'm more on the educational side. So I haven't been designing in like a while, right? I've done a few things, but no. My majority is Lindenwood and teaching. And then my other side things that we'll talk about. And so I'm like you, it's just like front row seat. Let me see, how can I help? Right? Because I want to push you all forward, because it's like, where am I needed? You know what I mean? So I think something big is going to happen. And especially when I saw that Black St. Louis fashion article with A.K. Brown, that was very inspiring. It was just amazing. So I agree totally 100% with you that something's about to happen. And I just want to help. Right. I just want to be there to help.
What can we do to help? So let's get into your other venture, which is really taking off. And I knew it was big, but I didn't think it would take off the way it's taking off. And now it's just blossoming. The Annie Malone book. How did that come about? And what was what brought you to that point that you wanted to do a children's book highlighting or talking about Annie Malone? And just explain the concept in general.
All right, good. This is so fun. This is great. Thank you again for inviting me on.
It's no problem.
I love talking about things I love. All right. So my dissertation topic was the history of Annie Malone and Pearl College in St. Louis, Missouri from 1915 to 1930. So, and it was building an empire of beauty culture is actually the whole title. So when I found out who Annie Malone was as an adult and didn't know who she was the entire time growing up in St. Louis, I knew about the May Day Parade. I knew about the Annie Malone Children's Home, right, which is now Children's Family Services. I knew about them, but I never knew who Annie Malone was. Once I did that dissertation and I actually found her, because again, I stayed consistent. I was looking for the first African-American woman fashion designer. So I'm going through it, I'm looking through all this stuff, and I come across this sewing room. And I'm like, what is this sewing room? A sewing department. And I'm like, what is this sewing department? So I look a little more and it says Pearl College. I'm like, okay, what's Pearl College? Then I see St. Louis, Missouri. And I was like, what is this talking about? Then I see Annie Malone. So I start digging and digging and digging again. And I'm just like, wait a minute. Then I come across that Annie Malone was the first woman millionaire. So then I'm like, wait a minute. I've always heard it was Madam C.J. Walker, right? Because it's like you hear about Madam C.J. Walker. So I'm just like digging. What'd you say?
Well, that's what the movie told us too.
Oh my God, don't talk about that movie. That was a horrible, horrible representation of Annie Malone, even though she was Addie Monroe. Terrible. That's a whole nother.
I saw your rant about that.
Yeah. Okay. So I know who saw. So cut through all of that. She was, and I said, oh my God, we have to tell her story, right? So I did all my research on her. All that was in 2011. So that was a long time ago when I graduated. Netflix comes up with this whole Annie Malone thing, right? And we're all quarantined. So I'm like starting to get these texts and messages, DMs, calls, and I was just like, did you see the Netflix? Have you watched it? You see what they saying about Annie Malone? It was just like, oh my God. And I said, I have to do something. The other thing, so there was really like three things that really started this whole book thing. One, it was COVID, right? So everybody's, I'm at home now. I have all this extra time because I don't have to drive all the way to St. Charles. And so it's like, okay, what am I going to do? I started, being on social media, and I would find myself on Instagram because Facebook, I had already stopped using Facebook for a while. So I'm on Instagram and I'm like, oh my God, a whole hour has gone by. Oh, no, Chajuana. I don't even watch TV. I'm not a TV person. Working on that PhD completely took away TV from me. So it's just like, I don't even watch TV. My sister will record certain things and I'll go watching. It's like, oh, so fun. I get to watch TV. It's like amazing. So I don't have like a lot of social time or free time and all that stuff. But I noticed I was spending all this time on social media. So we're in a pandemic, right? I'm wasting time. I felt like I was really just being a loser, wasting time on social media, right? For entertainment. And then my mom, like for a few years, she had constantly told my sister and I, why don't you all write a children's book? You really need to write a children's book. So I know you've been to the IFAB house. My sister, where we were, right? Where we had, when you did the whole book sign, oh my God, presentation was amazing. Thank you again for that. It was awesome. So my sister collects children's books. So, the children's books for and by African Americans. And so my mom was saying, you love all these books. You and your sister should write a book. So I kept thinking, I need to do something. There's something that I need to do because I feel like I wasn't doing, something. I felt like I needed to use my time more wisely. So my sister was like, okay, you see what they're doing with Netflix. You still haven't written your book, right? Because in 2011, so I have a whole dissertation that could easily be a book about Annie Malone. But I've just been so nervous. I'll be honest, I'm so nervous this book. She was just like, well, why don't you write a children's book about Annie Malone? And it was just like, what? And it was like the light bulb went off. So I said, oh my God, this is exactly what I'll do. Went in, wrote it up, talked to one of my friends. He was like, okay, well, what about the illustrations? Because I used to draw and all that kind of stuff. He said, well, what about the illustrations? He's like, I can do the illustrations if you want. And I said, okay. So then I wrote the story. He created illustrations. So I drew like sketches and everything of how I wanted things to look. And so he actually took it, he put it into Adobe Illustrator. And then my sister, because that's her expertise. She is a retired elementary school teacher. So she taught first grade and elementary school for like 28 years. So she knows exactly what should go in the book, how it should be set up, right? How children learn, what's the best way for them to learn, how many words are in a sentence. I mean, crazy stuff. So she knew all of that. That was all her area. And then I knew all of the Annie Malone stuff. And then the illustrator, he was doing the design part. So wrote the first book, put it out there on Amazon. One of my best friends who actually earned her PhD with me, she looked up, she was like, Chajuana, that's it. That's all. Because it was an ABC book, right? So I said, if we're going to do it, we're going to start from the very basics, the first thing that little babies learn, and that's their ABCs, right?
Right.
Because the whole purpose was to introduce the children to Annie Malone. I didn't want anybody else growing up in St. Louis not knowing who Annie Malone was, right?
Right.
So I said, okay, that was like a tragedy to me. It's like, how could I not know that? So I said, we're going to start with the babies. When they first learn to talk, they're going to actually learn who Annie Malone is. And if their parents don't know, then their parents are going to have to research who she was as well. So we started with the ABCs. My friend, she critiqued it. She was just like, it was just ABCs. I mean, really just ABCs. So we went back to the drawing board because I won't say I love critique, but I do enjoy critiques because I feel that makes you better. It's just like, yeah.
Those are the toughest conversations to have when you're working with an editor or somebody like that, because they're going to say some things and you're going to be like, I want to respond, but I can't because you actually are making sense, even though I don't like what you're saying. So.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it was hurtful, but it's like, yeah, she's right. So we got a few, different feedback from people. So we said, okay, let's go in, let's, level up. So we're gonna take it to the next level. So we did that. I kept wanting to go do more. So we ended up making or creating or writing Annie Malone's ABCs, Annie Malone's 1, 2, 3s, Annie Malone's colors, Annie Malone's shapes, and Annie Malone's activities. So we actually have 5 children's books on Annie Malone. And so we actually have Channel 9 Network. Mm-hmm. Dr. Sanders, he read our books online. So that was like amazing. They're also at the Missouri Historical Society in their gift shop. That was super amazing. But it's a total of 5 books. And so in the books, they're actually a teaching tool. So it's like the purpose is to introduce young children or young readers to Annie Malone, teach these young kids their foundational learning skills. So like the foundation, like just plain and simple, right at the beginning. And then make sure that we're telling Annie Malone's story, right? So we're introducing them, but we're also saying, this is someone you need to know, right? Her true life and legacy, just in case you did see that Netflix. And then
well, that and the fact that, like you said, we've grown up in St. Louis all these years and years. And the only thing we do know about Annie Malone is the May Day Parade and of course the center, mm-hmm. And the things that they do in the community. But to be honest, nobody ever tells us what Annie Malone ever did.
Right. Yeah, right. So, because she actually provided the money to get the building built in 1922. So it was just like, whoa. And then she became a board member. So she was on a board until like 1945 of Annie Malone, Children's and Family Services. Mm-hmm. So brings me to the next point. So the other purpose or objective that we wanted to do was to provide financial support to the Annie Malone Children and Family Service Center or services, I was at center on it, and the Annie Malone Historical Society. So on the back of all of our books, it says, please help us and keep alive and donate to these 2 places. So both are on there with the address, contact information for people to donate. A really feel-good story about that where I cried. One of my sister's friends, she bought the books, right? She was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to support you guys. I'm going to buy the book. She bought the book And she made a very nice donation to the Annie Malone Children and Family Services. So when she did that, it was just like, because we didn't know she had done it, right? So we found out. And it was like, what? It actually worked, because that's exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to create these books to teach, because that's both in our hearts. We want to teach, young people and next generation. We want them to know who Annie Malone is, but we also want to support the Children and Family Services and the Annie Malone Historical Society. So when somebody actually read our book and they say, oh, wait, on the back it says donate. Okay, I donate to all these other places. I'm going to donate to them.
That's
it was
amazing.
so beautiful. It was so, it's like, wow, that worked.
That's super dope.
Yeah.
So are the plans to continue making children's books? Will it be more historical based children's books, or will you be branching out? What's kind of the plan moving forward? Because it seems like this team up with you and your sister has really worked out.
So my sister and my niece. So my niece does all of our social media, everything. So she's like a social media guru. And we're just looking at it right now as a fundraiser type deal for those two organizations. So as far as us doing more, and just to be honest and candid, our illustrator was just like, I'm tired, I'm not doing nothing else. So he literally quit on us. But it was after the books were done. So the books are done. The books are done. So, but I mean, he's not an artist. He's an artist. He's a spoken word artist. And he's an author. He's written his own book. But the whole Adobe Illustrator and the illustration part, it literally, everything came together right at the right time for us to push out those 5 books, and everybody just trying to figure it out. We're all just figuring it out together. It was perfect. So what we're doing now is, it's so we have the book. And so we'll just keep the books, we'll sell them, we'll keep giving our donations and hoping others will donate as they buy the books. And so that's what we're doing now. So we donated books to the Annie Malone Children and Family Services. We donated to the Historical Society. The Historical Society has a museum exhibit at the Field House. And so we're going to do something with children there closer to spring. And then just different places, just okay, let's just give these books to these certain people so they'll have them and they can share them with children. But we have gotten a lot of people that were, that blessed us with very big orders. So we've gotten big orders, but still the orders come in pretty slow. And so it's we want to, especially me, I'm a giver. I'm a servant and I'm a giver. And my other gift is mercy, right? So at my church, when I first got there, we had to take a test to see where your motivational gifts are. I learned mercy, server, and giver. So it's just people walk all over me all the time. But anyway, so I always want to give. And it's just wait a minute. I know, right? It's just you giving Lindenwood money now because you ain't making no money for those books. So it's just oh, wait, Lindenwood money got to pay bills. Okay, bring it back in. So I have to keep everything in perspective. But so that's the whole thing with the books. That's amazing. We're happy that we have them because we want to teach the babies. You know what I mean? It's just they know who Annie Malone is now. Even when we were with the different people that read, it's I didn't know about Annie Malone. And it's literally, the books talk about, okay, Annie Malone wanted to give gifts to the children and the orphans. But on the back, it's a paragraph, a few sentences about who she was. And that was purposely to make sure that the people go and research who she is. It's okay, we're giving you that. Because when I wrote my dissertation, it was nothing out of there. I couldn't find absolutely anything. It was so hard. When you talk about limits, it was so hard digging up stuff on Annie Malone. Now, so many people have come out with information about her, writing different books about her. So it's okay, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. We'll just give this section about her, and then people can go and research her. And we actually saw that, and I won't throw anybody under the bus, but we saw that where different people reading the stories, wait a minute, okay. And then they find out more research about her, and then they talk about their research. And it's much better. They say you give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. You teach him how to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. So it's we gave them that little snapshot of who she was, because now you go and find it. And so many people have said that after I read your book, it made me want to find out who she was. And it's just hey, so again, it worked again. So we're happy about it. But yeah, so as far as like future goals, I will say this. We want our books, and I've heard it twice already that this should happen. It hasn't happened yet. But we want the Annie Malone children's book series, because it's a total of 5 books, in every St. Louis, Missouri, St. Louis, whatever you want to call it, elementary school district or school district in the elementary schools. Every school in Missouri. And I will say too, David, and Illinois, because she was born in Metropolis, Illinois. So she was in Metropolis, Peoria, and then Lovejoy. And then she came to St. Louis. And it's like, if we don't know about her, because she died in 57 in Chicago. So she moved there in 1930. So she was there, and she was here about around the same amount of time. But I'm almost sure the people in Chicago are pretty much like the people in St. Louis, like who?
Right, they didn't know much. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the ultimate goal. That's what we really want, is for the children in the elementary schools to have these books, because they're teaching tools. And we've had teachers use our books. We've done Zooms where we talk to the kids in the classroom again. I mean, I'm like fighting tears back, because I love babies, right? I'm just scared of them. They're so cute and fragile. I'm like, I don't break one. So, but we
remember that first grade class.
Yeah, it's just like nightmare. but talking to them, because it's like kindergarten classes, pre-K, first grade, and seeing those little babies say, I like your books. Oh, another special thing. In the books, we created characters, right? Because again, my sister, my niece, that was one of our, I won't say it was a critique. So my niece was just like, yeah, but it's boring, right? Because the first one we did was like, So we created characters that were based on Annie Malone's actual product and tools that she used. So each character is based on a product or a tool from Annie Malone, and they're named after historical African Americans. And yeah, so it's like 6 characters plus her is 7. And we have, I don't know, we won't go into that. That's a whole nother story. Yeah, so they're named after historical African Americans and their actual Annie Malone products. They're the characters in the book. So the little kids, they tell us what's their favorite character. And then we can talk about, who that historical Black person was. So it's just teaching just all the way around. So it's amazing. We love it. It's awesome.
Well, no, that does sound really dope. One other thing I wanted to get into before we get out of here, definitely wanted to talk about the collection, the doll collection. Because you have a whole house, and it's like, is it like an Airbnb or how does that work?
Okay.
Explain that.
All right. So I've been explaining this since I got it. So I won't go into all the details, because everything has a whole story to it. But in 2016, I bought this house that's not too far from my home. And I needed space, right? It's just me, right? No husband, no kids, it's just me. But I needed space because my family situation changed, right? So in my house, it was just like, okay, we all coming together. But then I started thinking like, okay, I need some space. So house came available. I bought it, and I said, okay, I'm putting my collection of dolls in there. So the dolls I started collecting dolls at 13. Because again, my parents was like, girl, you too big. We didn't buy you no more toys. No, you get no more Barbie dolls. You're 13. Why would we buy you a doll? So it's just like, oh, for real? Okay. So then for my birthday and Christmas, my sister would say, okay, I'll buy you a doll. But you can't be playing with them, right? So then I started collecting them that way. And my first group that I collected were the international Barbie dolls. So those are the ones that are out of the box. And I just started collecting them over the years, where it was still like a birthday or a special occasion or a holiday or something like that, or a real nice one that my sister saw on sale or something like that. I started collecting the dolls. So then my niece, she comes along, she started collecting dolls. My sister, she has her collection that she started collecting dolls. So the house is called the International Fashion and Beauty Historical Society. And within it has 3 bedrooms. So I have my doll collection in the house, right? So the house is a pretty nice size, because it was actually a church administration building. So I really had to go in and do a lot of reconstruction, and there's a lot of things to make it nice. So there's a doll collection, and then upstairs there are 3 bedrooms, and the whole house has a Parisian aesthetic, I'll say, because I love Paris. I've been there 7 times.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not moving there, but I love it. And so I visited on my different trips there. I visited Palace of Versailles. And so they had this mirrored, the hall, the mirrored hall, the hall of mirrors. And so that always stuck with me. And that's where I ended up getting this mirror hall, this wall of mirrors. And everything is like Eiffel Towers in there and all this other stuff. Because Paris is like the home of fashion, where it all started. And so upstairs, the 3 rooms have this like Parisian inspiration. And it kind of happened organically because I have a friend, different friends from out of town, family from out of town. They're like, yeah, we're coming in town. We're going to get our hotel. And it's like, oh, wait, I got a place for you to stay because nobody's up there. Nobody lives there. It's just this house with 3 bedrooms, a kitchen, a basement, all of this stuff. So the dining room, the first thing I had there was my sister's birthday party. I think it was her 50th birthday party was there. And so it had I won't go into all of that. But anyway, so I first started, I had my collection in there. Then I started having different parties and celebrations. I had a few repasts there in the basement. So it was like the upstairs is more for fine dining. And then the basement is more for like casual eating and that kind of thing. And then on the 3rd floor is all bedrooms. And so that's for like staying overnight. And then recently, I'll say this, we started the Nora Dahl Chateau. So it's like International Fashion and Beauty Historical Society. So that's my whole designer side where it's like historical African Americans in the fashion and beauty industry. So yeah, so it's like a historical society because I also started collecting apparel by African American fashion designers. So I have that as well, but I don't have it on display as of yet.
Is that coming?
Yeah. So the one thing that did take off was the Barbie dolls. And so my niece, actually our illustrator came up with the name. He's just like, why don't you call it featuring Nora Dahl Chateau? So my niece, she loved it. She came up with the name. Mm-hmm. And so now what we do is highlight the different dolls that we have on display. And what we're going to do, we recently were incorporated as a nonprofit. And so we're going to start working on that so we can get all of that information out so we can do exhibits and have visitors and all that kind of stuff. Because right now it's been closed because of COVID. And it's like, I'm not going outside. So I was like, nobody's coming in or out. I did have a elementary school friend, him and his family did stay up there. But for the most part, it's just like, no, it's closed. Nobody comes in, nobody goes out. So right now it's just, we're rebuilding. I would say we're rebuilding it. Yeah.
Man, that sounds so dope. And it's a dope collection. So I know just being in the comics industry, just being around that collector's mentality and, just seeing different people's collections is just always something I like to highlight. And now you have an actual space where people can actually come enjoy what you've collected. And then you'll be having exhibits and all of those things. And I'm really interested to see what the African-American clothing display is going to look like.
Yeah.
That's going to be dope. Chajuana, how can people reach you on the social medias? Because, you are like the Instagram star now and everything.
No, I'm not. My personal page is like barely hanging on.
Oh, Lord.
But if they want, my personal page is at Dr. C.V. Trawick. And then Annie Malone children's books for the children's books is at Annie Malone children's books. And then for the Doll Museum is at Nora Dahl Chateau. And then for the IFAB House, International Fashion and Beauty Historical Society, that's at IFABHS. So
oh boy, you guys got all kinds of different profiles. That's what's up.
I guess.
And will there be anything else in the future as far as fashion? Will there be any fashion shows? I know we have COVID to deal with and everything, but will it be like any online events or things like that you'll be putting together, or kind of just anything like that?
Yeah. So that was one of the I did. My mom wanted the long, like the really big hanging chandeliers in the dining area. And I said, no, Mom, we need the shorter ones closer to the ceiling because we're going to have fashion shows in here too. So, the models, when they're tall and they have on their heels, it's like, you can't have hanging chandeliers. We have to have shorter ones or flatter.
Although that would make an incredible viral moment for the internet. I will say that.
I know. So yeah, always fashion shows. I mean, because even at Lindenwood, everything went virtual, and it was like we started teaching virtual online, and it was like we had to switch so quick, and our students didn't get their fashion shows, they didn't get their graduation, and so I mean, fashion shows has been something that I always loved doing, and I could tell everybody's like, I can do a fashion show in my sleep. It's like that. At one point, it was just like, yeah, I was coordinating fashion shows all over the place because it was so easy, it came so natural because I had been doing them so long. And so, yeah, those are in the works because there are platforms to do them. It's a lot of ways to do them, even online and virtually and all of that. We're looking at that for Lindenwood, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, the Fab House, we're gonna come up with a few things. So, yeah.
Well, that sounds dope. Well, Chajuana, I've had a great time talking with you, and I think everybody is going to really enjoy the show. So I just wanted to say thank you for being on the show, and we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Super producer Lamar, how can everybody reach you? Just yell it out.
Backroom Beats Podcast.
There you go, Backroom Beats Podcast, and you've been having all kinds of musical superstars and stuff on the podcast. I've been watching you, bro. I've been watching you. I see you. If looks could kill. Hey guys, if you enjoy the show, please go ahead on the YouTube channel. Please go ahead and give it the big thumbs up. If you don't know, on YouTube, the algorithms have algorithmed again. So when you give a thumbs up, a like on the video, that will basically let the algorithms know that you like us. And yes, Lamar, I've already asked about all of her information. We did that before you came back in. So, so guys, please go ahead and give us the big thumbs up. Make sure that you're also sharing this video all over the internet when it comes out. Of course, if you're on Anchor, Google Podcasts, or anything like that, share this with all your friends, because this is the 4Sight Podcast. We like to talk to creators. We like to talk to creators about their journey. And of course, when you're dealing with a creator that's so deeply involved in the community, like Miss Chajuana Trawick, you got to really kind of get into the weeds with it a little bit. So please share this all over. Also, we have a Patreon, guys. That's DKG72 Comics. If you really like what you're seeing and hearing, go ahead and support us on Patreon. And if not, or if you want to do a monthly type thing, we always have coloring books, comic books, all kinds of stuff that you can support either on Amazon or on the 4Sight Podcast. And with all of that being said, hold on, let me take a breath. That was a lot. I would like to thank the lovely Miss Chajuana Trawick one more time for coming on to our little podcast and blessing us and with all of the crazy and wonderful stories that you had. And I will see you guys next week with another dope podcast. This is David Gordon. This is the 4Sight Podcast. We will holler at y'all later.
Peace.